Okay, so as artificial intelligence gets smarter and faster every single day, it's forcing us to ask some really, really fundamental questions about ourselves. In this explainer, we're going to dig into a fascinating theological framework that helps us think about human purpose in a world where, honestly, machines can do what we once thought was uniquely human. It all kicks off with this idea our source material calls the illusion of equivalence. You see this incredible, almost vertical climb of AI capabilities. Think ChatGPT, generative art, you name it. The expectation is this just keeps going up. But on the flip side, all this progress is creating this deep, nagging sense of, well, existential anxiety. And that leads us right to the huge, unsettling question at the heart of all this. A question I think a lot of us are starting to feel in our gut. If a machine can replicate what we do, what exactly are we? Now look, this isn't just some abstract philosophical problem. Let's make it real. Take education. On one side, you've got the machine's capability. AI is totally mastering the what and the how-to. It can spit out lesson plans, give instant feedback, automate all the grading. And what does that create? A massive professional identity crisis for educators, which you see on the other side as the teacher's doubt. They're left asking, hey, if a machine can do half my job faster, and maybe even better, what is my purpose here? So, to find our way through this fog of uncertainty, the framework we're exploring says we can't just look to another piece of tech for the answer. No, we have to look deeper at what it fundamentally means to be human. And that brings us to the core concept here, something called the ontological divide, a divide that's about the very nature of our being. And this one sentence, this is the foundation for the entire argument. It's proposing that we're not even comparing apples to apples here. It argues that AI and humanity, well, we're in two completely different categories of existence. So let's break that divide down. On one side, you have AI, described here as a human-made instrument. It's data-driven, it's algorithmic, and this is the critical part, it has zero consciousness. Then on the other side, you have humanity, described with the theological term imago Dei, which means the image of God. This view says that we humans are gifted with personhood, a spiritual and relational capacity, and, importantly, moral responsibility. And this is a brilliant way to see the difference in what they each produce. AI works in a generation loop. It takes in a ton of historical data, matches patterns, and produces a really sophisticated imitation. It's driven by instruction. But the human process, that's a creation funnel. It draws from our own internal emotional experiences, our physical bodies, our history, and it's driven by will, by intent, and by spirit to produce something truly new, a true creation. This matrix just lays it all out, a fantastic side-by-side. I mean, look at the key differences. Origin, human-engineered versus created by God. Core faculty, for the machine, it's code and data. For us, it's spirit and consciousness. The output, generative imitation versus original creation. Moral capacity, AI is just a tool, it's amoral, while humanity has to bear moral responsibility. And the big one, ultimate purpose. For AI, it's just to execute tasks. For us, it's the pursuit of relationships with God and with each other. Okay, so if we accept this fundamental divide, what does that actually mean for how we live, for our society? Well, it leads us to a pretty radical rethinking of value itself. It's a massive shift from valuing productivity to valuing personhood. This image visualizes that shift perfectly. The old metric is a scale where we weigh our value based on our productivity. And let's be honest, that's a scale where AI will eventually outweigh us. But the whole argument here is that we're using the wrong scale completely. The new metric isn't a scale at all. It's a foundation. Our value isn't based on what we do, but on who we are, on our inherent dignity as imago Dei. So why does this matter in the real world? Because this new value system gives us a really powerful ethical lens for our biggest tech challenges. Think about the ancient concept of neighborly love. When you see it through this framework, it gives us a way to actively fight back against modern problems. It calls us to resist surveillance that turns people into data points, to protect against algorithmic bias, and to make sure digital divides don't leave the most vulnerable people behind. Ultimately, this framework lays out two very different futures for us. On the left, you've got the misaligned path. This is where we give up our agency to algorithms and start treating AI like an idol, a modern Tower of Babel. But on the right is the stewarded path. This is where we use AI as the powerful tool it is to empower human-led work, whether that's in education, healthcare, or just building deeper relationships and showing love to our neighbors. So, to wrap all these ideas up, the source material synthesizes this entire framework into 4 clear pillars. Think of them as guideposts for building our future alongside AI. First up, irreplaceability. AI will absolutely exceed our capacity, but it can never, ever imitate our essence. Second, inherent dignity. Our value is eternally anchored. It's completely immune to technological obsolescence. Third, instrument not idol. AI is a powerful tool to be used, never an idol to be worshipped. And finally, anchored hope. In this crazy era of disruption, this framework gives us the wisdom to lead with courage and with clarity. And that brings us to our final thought. If there is just one idea to take away from this whole framework, it's this one. It challenges us to completely reevaluate where we think our worth comes from. In the age of AI, maybe the most human thing we can do is to remember that our dignity is not something we earn through what we produce. It's something we are simply given.